we got a new insane bit from a Trump speech.
Do it because the liberal left won't
This
let
is
them
what I
do
was
it.
thinking.
The liberal left wants to destroy him, and they want to destroy our country. You know, if you had one day, like one real rough, nasty day with the drugstores as an example, but they have to be taught. Now, if you had one really violent day, like a guy like Mike Kelly, put him in charge, Congressman Kelly, put him in charge for one day. Mike, would you say, he's right here, it's a chain of events that's so bad. One rough hour, and I mean real rough, the word will get out and it will end immediately. End immediately.
He's essentially calling for like the day of the rope. I'm not going to parse my words with this. He's basically saying like crime in America is at a peak, illegals, blah, 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 right? The whole everything such and such. One like incredibly violent crackdown and it would be over. It's the Kristallnacht thing, right? That's like it is completely incoherent, but like underneath the incoherence, it's very obvious what he's saying. Like there's really like no ambiguity to it. I don't know if there's any other possible interpretation to it. I mean, we can listen to it again. He stammers through everything.
You know, it'll end immediately. Crooked Joe Biden, do it because the liberal left won't let him do it. The liberal left wants to destroy him, and they want to destroy our country. You know, if you had one day, like one real rough, nasty day with the drugstores as an example, but they have to be taught. Now, if you had one really violent day, like a guy like Mike Kelly, put him in charge, Congressman Kelly, put him in charge for one day. Mike, would you say, he's right here, it's a chain of events that's so bad. One rough hour, and I mean real rough, the word will get out and it will end immediately.
He's saying that the liberals don't want to deal with crime because they want the country to be destroyed. But if you put somebody like Mike Kelly in charge, presumably as AG, and you had one really rough day or one really rough hour, the word would get out and it would stop. Essentially, it's if we had one incredibly large militant crackdown. Why is he saying drugstores? Because he's talking about shoplifting at drugstores. Of course, we have found out, even from the admission of the CEO of Walgreens and others, that the so-called, like, you know, organized shoplifting crime spree was completely made up. It wasn't real. The fact that all of the stores you go to, they now have everything hidden behind, like, plastic cases, it was all made up. All of it was based on a testimony provided to some court setting years ago from a cop. There was no like data they based that on. Crime's been going down, as Thana says. So they're just talking about crimes here, and he's essentially saying, yeah, we'll do a purge. He's not the purge. People are like, oh, one day of anyone can attack anyone. No, that's not what he's saying. He's saying he wants not the purge. He wants a purge of crime in an incredibly violent day of a military crackdown. Now, of course, it wouldn't just be a day. There was never in all of human history been one day where a guy was a dictator. That has never happened, ever. That's never happened. When has that happened?
End immediately. You know, it'll end immediately. Crooked Joe Biden.
Trump said he was only going to be a dictator day one. Yeah, well, the reason why people are making the Kristallnacht comparison, which is apt, by the way, is because, look, if you watch my content, you know Trump's a fascist. If you disagree with that, I mean, I guess you've got a backlog. Make sure to watch my videos, like and subscribe, donate if you want to. You want to, trust me. Hopefully, if you're watching right now, you agree that Trump is a fascist in a very unambiguous way. Like, there's really no getting around it. He has talked extensively about his interest in essentially being a dictator. That's not new or interesting. It's very, 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 very difficult to do fascism, to be a fascist and a dictator when the people don't go along with it. You need to rile people up, which is why the GOP and the media organizations they're in bed with have been complicit in nonstop fear and hate mongering in a deliberate effort to rile people up. Take, for example, the Haitian population of Springfield. Hey, have you heard anything about the Haitian population there in a week? I'm asking, in the past 7 days, have you heard about it? Nope. Because it was never real. It was a phantom. They just moved on from it. They milk it for outrage for a week, then they move on. That's it. Just like they did with critical race theory, just like they do with everything else. None of them are authentic attempts at gesturing at real problems that people have. They are only ever an attempt to tick up the amount of racial hatred people feel by that much, just a little bit more. They do it with everything. The reason people are making the Kristallnacht comparison is because the Nazis needed Kristallnacht to be done by the people. The Nazi regime could never have gotten away with the Holocaust if the level of anti-Semitism was wildly disparate between the government and the people. The people needed to be on board in order for the regime to be able to get away with the Holocaust. The Kristallnacht wasn't about, like, you know, it's not as though the German government didn't have the power to persecute Jews at that time without civilian help. The civilian help was about building popular consensus. What was Kristallnacht? Night of Broken Glass. It was a pogrom against Jewish people. In the lead up to the Holocaust, the basic gist of it was that the Nazi government encouraged a mass civilian revolt and pogrom against the Jews in an effort to kind of consolidate the government and the people's anti-Semitism in a way that would allow them to get away with, like, whatever they wanted to. That's what Trump wants. Trust me, if there was a big one-day crackdown on crime, it wouldn't just be one day. But let's imagine, let's fantasize for a moment about this insane thing that Donald Trump says he'll do, you know. Or we can talk about the 20 million illegal immigrants that apparently exist that he says he wants to oust. The police could not do that on their own. The police are not capable of doing that on their own. You need the people on your side. And that, I think, is what Donald Trump ultimately is signaling to here. You need you need the people to be so riled up. I think that's what Donald Trump is talking about when he says you would only need 1 hour, 1 day, and then the word would get out. It's not just about, like, law. It's not about the police doing a crackdown. It's about a rampant spree of stochastic terror where you have, like, white nationalist militias threatening, terrorizing, and murdering people they think are illegal immigrants or Haitians or whatever the you have people, like, shooting or citizens arresting fentanyl addicts hanging out in the downtown areas of, I don't know, every city in America at this point. Somebody in chat earlier said this, but isn't that what separates totalitarianism from regular authoritarianism? Avinash, to a large extent, yes. Authoritarian governments are common everywhere. Putin is authoritarian, you know? He's not totalitarian. And the main reason for that is because he doesn't have the fanatical, devoted loyalty from and control over the population necessary to fastidiously manage every element of the citizenry's lives. In Nazi Germany, that government was totalitarian. Parents were getting ratted out to, like, by their children to school teachers. You know, like, there were literally German parents who would say shit like, I don't know, I feel like we've gone kind of wacky mode. And then the children were being taught by their teachers, if your parents say anything anti-Hitler, you bring that shit to me. And then their parents would get hanged, you know? Soviet Union, North Korea, it's not good. Yes, this did also happen in the Soviet Union. Is this The Boys reference? No, this is the world history reference. That gap is what allows, that gap, I think, is what, like, separates those lines. So I don't know. I mean, it's pretty clear what they're trying to procure here. I feel like I'm doing a bad job of making this point, which is largely on me, but whatever. It's not the Khmer Rouge did this too. That's true. The Khmer Rouge were also pretty totalitarian within their means. That is 100% true. He's really been on one lately. It's genuinely such a, like, sickening spiritual violation that this election is a coin flip.
Remember, there's a hat that's made that sells like crazy. Oh, there's a fly. Oh, I wonder where the fly came from. See, 2 years ago, I wouldn't have had a fly up here. You're changing rapidly, but we can't take it any longer. We can't take it any longer. It takes...
I don't know. I don't know.
And, you know, it's going to lead to great things. A lot of people don't give. I know a lot about overtime. I'd hated to give overtime. I hated it. I'd get other people, I shouldn't say this, but I'd get other people in, I wouldn't pay. I hated. This is going to lead to a lot more. I think it's going to be economically positive, but I'm not even doing it for that reason. I'm doing it because, like the no tax on overtime, it's something so good.
What a populist. Who the just admits that? There's no consequence. Like literally nothing matters. Why do I even have a job?
Warming, which is now, but they think about global warming, which is now called climate change, because global warming doesn't work anymore, because it's actually cooling. It worked for a few seasons, but now it's not working. So climate change, a much better term, because that covers everything.
This was as the hurricane was hitting landfall.
By this storm is incredible. It's so extensive. Nobody thought this would be happening, especially now it's so late in the season for the hurricanes. Homes, hospitals, highways, and cars have been plunged underwater. Entire neighborhoods have been turned into lakes. Nobody's seen anything like it, and the devastation wrought by this storm is...
It's like, it's, I don't know. I'm just like throwing clips because again, like the lesson we need to learn from all, there's nothing, what did he say? You can shoot someone on 7th Avenue. There is nothing Trump can say that will shake his numbers with the people who want to vote for him, right? Like Kamala Harris, you know, be clear, I don't like her. I don't like Biden. I don't like these people. I think that she's better than Biden in some respects, but like, come on, you know, I'm not out here like gunning for her. I do like Walz. That is true. I do like Walz. But one thing you can say about Kamala Harris and Walz that is definitely true is that it is possible for them to say things that can hurt their chances. Trump can't say anything that hurts his chances. And the reason for that is because in reality, there is actually almost no relationship between support for a candidate or support for any position or anything and how good that thing is, either for you or in general. Only what you are told is good. And there is nothing we can do if we just have to keep batting down these cults. They could bring out anyone. They could bring out Jeffrey Epstein's corpse. They could bring out the most unlikable. It could be Marjorie Taylor Greene in 2028. You have no idea. You don't care. It doesn't matter. I used to think that this would end with the Trump cult, and maybe that's true for a couple of percentage points. But do you really think there's any relationship between what's good and what Republicans will support? I don't know if there is. They'll just get the next wave of propaganda. They'll just be buffeted nonstop 24/7 with radio, TV, news, internet, Elon Musk's Twitter, handing them the worst shit possible all the time, telling them, oh no, this new person actually is just like Trump, but better even. And they'll buy it. Why not? Who cares? I don't know. I guess like it's just, if much in the same way that Biden is massively fumbling the bag with Israel right now, the inability for liberals in this country to understand that a crackdown on far-right propaganda is the only way forward. If they can't get that, we won't move forward. We'll just die. There is nothing that you can do to push back against tens of billions of dollars of fascist propaganda apart from directly addressing the fascist propaganda. You can't like cleverly navigate around it, you know? If people are being taught day in and day out in a school system, as they were in Hitler's Germany, about like, you know, an imagined like Aryan nation and how Jews are bad or whatever, you can't deal with that by waiting for them to get out of school and then hitting them with like clever liberal newspaper quips about how in actuality everything you learned in K through 12 is wrong. You need to break down the school system. You can't add to it. You have to just break it. Does it happen in the school system? I mean, to an extent, but I'm trying to talk about like the nature of dealing with it, you know? Like I'm trying, like you can't just take for granted the existence of the entire capital class lining up behind propagandizing to half the country. And then in addition to that, you're like, okay, well now we have to deal with that and we have to push back against it with our own campaign. You have to break the propaganda wing. I genuinely don't think this race will be close. Even if this race isn't close, we're biding our time right now. This needs to be dealt with. Or we just keep dealing with it every 4 years, making concession after concession after concession after concession. The one like hopium or perhaps copium pill that I'm leaning on right now, like the thing that maybe it's true, maybe it's not. I don't know. I don't know if it's true or not. The thing I'm leaning on is the idea that a lot of our polling data is hinging on demographic information that we obtained during the 2020 census, which is no longer proportionally accurate because of COVID. Old people die. I mean, everyone dies, but old people die more. They die faster. But because of COVID, they died more and faster than was expected. It's possible that the polling data that we're getting is being scaled to a demographic chart that is no longer accurate. As in, we do our data, we get our data, we do our polling, and then we say, okay, now we're going to use this as a representative sample of the population, and we project it onto a population from 2020. And there might be differences between the population now and the population data from 2020, the last time we took the census, that might be skewed more than people think. It also does make sense if you take into account the fact that in 2022, Democrats outperformed polls and expectations in a lot of ways. 2022 was the only election that we've had that was after the COVID, pandemic would have altered the population demographics in that way. Likewise, Democrats have done consistently well in special elections since then. So it is possible that we're going to see a turn in the polling because of that demographic swap. Maybe this is hopium, whatever, I don't know. Didn't they adjust the models in the intervening years? Sure, but 2022 was still way better for us than we thought. They adjust the models and, but also, like, they don't always adjust the models. First of all, who's they? Polling's done by a bunch of groups. And second of all, have you taken a look? Maybe you haven't. I've taken a look at the methodology of a lot of the so-called, like, AA polling groups that you see that get, like, sourced in 538. Oftentimes, the methodology of the polling that they engage in is hideously bad. This is one of the reasons why I say polling is devilish. The only polling I reliably trust is from Pew Research, because Pew Research is one of the few outfits that actually, consistently, rigorously, backs up their data. Do you have any idea why Gen Z men are so much more conservative than Gen Z women? First of all, men in general are more conservative than women. Second of all, they're not. The polling data that you've seen saying that Gen Z men are pulling away and all becoming conservative, it was fake. This is exactly what I mean. There's recent Pew Research data on that as well. That polling data that was widely reported on, that was widely, speculated on, it just wasn't true. Men are more conservative than women in general, but no, Gen Z is very left-leaning. There was recently a poll I saw people discussing on Twitter, and the poll was like, why is this new rampant wave of Gen Z men going to church? And people were like, oh shit, it's like the revival of religiosity in response to social alienation. And then it turned out the polling data was absolute bullshit. And it turns out like, no, that's not happening. More young men are not going to church. Everyone is going to church less. It was just fake. It wasn't real. For a while now, Donald Trump has been posting on Twitter, but it hasn't actually been Trump. It's been Trump's team. This is Trump. There's Kamala Harris on a plane, just briefed by FEMA, Diane Criswell, on the latest developments about Hurricane Helene. Another fake and staged photo from someone who has no clue what she's doing. The all bold, by the way. Lovely choice. Me in the, American Psycho executives room comparing Trump tweets. The subtle bold emboss. You have to plug the cord into the phone for it to work. Biden and Harris abandoned Americans in Afghanistan. They sacrificed Americans to an open border, and now they've left Americans to drown in North Carolina, Georgia, Tennessee, Alabama, and elsewhere in the South. Under this administration, Americans always come last because we have leaders who have no idea how to lead. You have to plug the cord into the phone for it to work. Does he mean the earbud? This is a cell phone. Couldn't she have one earbud out to be listening to the phone? And the other earbud here, I mean, it could be like plugged in like through here, but this is like a very normal photo. There's like a million potential explanations here. Yeah, it could be plugged into a recording device. It could be she's listening in through this ear. I mean, okay. She's on Air Force 2. I'm pretty sure that you can listen to stuff really, really clearly in the cabin there. Like, the reason why planes are so loud when you're on them is because you're in the shit seats in the economy section of a Boeing plane made 40 years ago to fit people in for $80 tickets. She's in Air Force 2. They could probably host like a classical concert in here. I have a feeling she can hear things just fine. I don't know. It's like a waste of my time to even like analyze this. She's listening to your stream on another phone through the earbud. That's true. The signal though, planes have Wi-Fi. like pretty good Wi-Fi. Whenever I've flown for the past decade, I've been able to like just watch YouTube videos or whatever, or Netflix. I didn't know there was such a thing as Air Force 2. Yeah, Air Force 2. That's for the VP. Air Force 1 is for the president. Yeah. Yeah, plane Wi-Fi is pretty darn good, you know? And this is Air Force 2, so I assume the plane Wi-Fi here is pretty good. That'd be my guess. Okay. Well, what matters is that Trump is having fun. Folks, believe it or not, it's not actually good for your mental health to consume political news nonstop 24/7, especially in fraught times like these, and then not actually do anything about it. You know, you're just sitting there, you're thinking, what are you doing? I've got good news for you. Progressive Victory right now is gunning up for a big event October 5th and 6th in Wisconsin, canvassing for Kamala Harris and Tim Walz, our preferred candidate for the presidency and vice presidency, if you didn't know. And they're doing phone banking and canvassing all over the country, okay? Basically what I'm saying is you should check out Progressive Victory's activities, you know? Pinned comment down below. I know you're thinking I'm busy, I don't want to do it, it's going to be difficult. I get so many people saying it's better than they think it's going to be. It's good. At least take a look. There's a lot going on. Maybe you think, oh, I'll contribute an hour a week, and then it turns out, you know, maybe you contribute 2 hours. You're having so much fun. Just give it a look.